Hey there everyone! Before we start talking about the end of the Great Keyblade War, I gotta give a shout out to the sponsor for today's video, ExpressVPN. A VPN, or a virtual private network, is essentially the best way to keep yourself secure while browsing the net. By encrypting your data as well as masking your IP address, those dirty little heartless out there across the web will not be able to get your information over the network. And what makes ExpressVPN so great? Well, they have the fastest speeds out of all the other providers, they have servers in 94 countries, and quite frankly, it's just incredibly easy to use. So, I'll be honest, I'm pretty new to the whole VPN thing. I was looking a lot into ExpressVPN when they first reached out to me, and I gotta say, I am super impressed. As many of you can tell, I live on the internet. I'm on this stupid thing so much of my life, and now that I know I have the access and the tools to being secure at all times, oh, this is absolutely a must-have for me. I can go through emails without worry. I can live stream now without any worries. And just an extra perk on top of all of that, you can even utilize streaming services from outside of the country that you live in. That's just another plus, just because they could. For less than $7 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee, you too can take advantage of the great service that is ExpressVPN. Or better yet, click the link in the description below, or head over to expressvpn.com/AntDude to learn more and get 3 months free with a 1-year purchase. It has been a long time coming. If you didn't know, I have talked about every single Kingdom Hearts game on this channel, which you can see by clicking on this playlist right here. Haha, shameless. And now it's led up into this very moment. It's finally here. We're gonna talk about Kingdom Hearts VR experience. Well, hey, this kinda came out of nowhere. A Kingdom Hearts virtual reality experience. Okay, I can get down with this. So you get to sit around in the pilot seat of the gummy ship, you then get overwhelmed by a bunch of cutscenes from the franchise, but hey, here's the kicker. It's all in virtual reality. Only found this one on the Japanese PSN store, but hey, if you have a VR headset, why not give it a shot? Oh, and Kingdom Hearts 3 is out too. I still can't believe I can say that sentence and not be living some sort of weird fever dream. There have been plenty of Kingdom Hearts games over the years. Most would probably argue too many, but it's still been 13 years since Kingdom Hearts 2. And say what you will about this crazy franchise, but I still love that game, specifically Final Mix. So finally getting a proper game number 3, gotta say, the hype was pretty high. This was easily one of the most anticipated titles in recent memory, and after waiting as long as we did, how did it turn out? Oh boy, am I ever gonna regret this. So, if you couldn't tell with the video title, I was one of those people who was not that big of a fan of this game here. Now, I'm not going to go into this video going into major deep details with every single aspect about this game. I'm not going to talk about how insane it was that they left plot points in different games and different consoles and every single plot point makes sense to some sort of capacity. I'm not going to talk about how ugly Monster Goofy is in Monstropolis, even though every fiber of my being tells me to do just that. I, as someone who has discussed every other game in this franchise, want to put a bookend on this saga and talk about why I just didn't really like this game in a way that hopefully doesn't piss off the entire fan base. Oh, this is going to be a massive mistake. Kingdom Hearts 3 does a whole lot of things. Just speaking on variety, yeah, this simply has a ton going on in terms of gameplay, story, and presentation. Graphically, I mean, yeah, it's gorgeous. Everything is so bright and colorful, and with all of the Disney worlds, the game often tries to emulate the style that the source material is going for, like the more realistic look of Pirates of the Caribbean. The character models are great, and the cutscenes have more fluid movement than ever before, which is very fun to watch. Previous games had notoriously stiff animations for a lot of the cutscenes, and while that still does happen from time to time here, it is less now than ever before. And if there's one thing only that this series does really well, weird side games excluded, is having really fun hack and slash gameplay that rewards experimentation and requires a lot of skill and technique to best the endgame and post-game challenges. Naturally, KH3 follows suit, but only some of the time. Kingdom Hearts 3 is rough, huh? Okay, well, let's get into it. In my opinion, a lot of what plagues this game is, while some of the stuff that is carried over from previous titles is pretty solid, what this game tries to do differently to stand out or act as the big Xehanort saga conclusion that a lot of us were anticipating, it falls on its face so many times.
I'm lost. What's going on?
And this is purely speaking of the game's launch, by the way. There is no doubt we'll be getting some sort of weird final mix at some point in the future. The Keyblade slashing gameplay is as fun as you would expect it to be, however, the game offers you its entire toolbox from basically the start of the adventure with no reason to limit that moveset aside from creating some sort of self-imposed challenge. This game is simply put stupid easy, and a lot of that is attributed to you having plenty of movement options, special flashy attacks from Goofy, Donald, and whatever world exclusive party members you have on hand, a handful of magic abilities that you can somewhat spam, summons, Disney attraction abilities, the shot lock, form changes, and in many of the world's cases, gimmicks that are meant to spice the combat up. However, to me, they overstay their welcome as everything you do here is just a slightly different way of mashing the attack button until you win. Any sort of finesse that's required to master the game's combat mechanics is just not here. Just keep mashing the attack button and using the special moves when they pop up, you'll see the credits eventually. I feel like this would have been easily resolved if they decided to drip feed the abilities to Sora instead of just giving everything to you right from the get-go. Like, why does Sora have the shot lock? That doesn't make any sense. For a franchise that is so hell-bent on explaining every single little story detail to try so desperately hard to make sure everyone is caught up by the end, why do they just hand Sora a move that he never had in the first place? Why not save Aqua midway through the game and then she teaches you how to do the shot lock since she knows how to do it? Why not take a trip to a Disney world like Return to Disney Castle to learn how to summon the Disneyland attractions? Instead of just being able to summon a giant boat at will, nothing in this franchise has led us up to believe that Sora can do that. Now realistically, this wouldn't make the combat that much more difficult, but it would just be nice to have this feeling of Sora growing as a character, as a fighter. Isn't the whole idea that he's not ready to fight Xehanort at the start? It should be shown that he still needs to learn some new stuff, but he just has moves handed to him as opposed to learning them throughout the adventure. If experience points and the level that you are wasn't an issue, Sora could technically fight Xehanort right from the beginning. It just doesn't make much sense to me. As an RPG fan, I want to see my character grow and get stronger. We didn't really get that here. And this does sort of lead into my second major problem with this game. The pacing of this game is probably the worst part about it. Kingdom Hearts as a franchise typically toes a fine line between Disney fan service, Square Enix fan service, and pushing its own narrative forward. It is a very important balance to strive for, and KH3 fails at that. It does start off really strong. I mean, you get a hint of the Kingdom Hearts ridiculous story that we all signed up for. Then we jump immediately into Olympus, a familiar location, where we not only help out Hercules once again, but we also get a glimpse of the greater picture that we're about to dive into. After that though, it is more or less just 20 hours of the hero trio just goofing off in Disney worlds with little to no progress being made to said greater picture of finishing off Xehanort before it's too late. It's kind of like what you expect to see at this point. You know, you play with the world's characters for a bit, a villain comes through, calls Sora a poopy head, and then disappears, and you rinse and repeat. And I will give the game credit where it's due. They do often give reasons as to why the villains need those worlds in the first place. Toy Story is there to prove that inanimate objects can contain hearts. Monsters Inc. allows them to harness negative emotions via the children's screams. That stuff is actually pretty neat. However, despite that, there is no sense of urgency or threat in this storyline. Sometimes the organization members themselves don't know why they are where they are. Sometimes they're just there to see if they could potentially use the world. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Okay, well, if they don't really care what they're doing and they're not in any rush, why should I be? I'm quite frankly more concerned with finding out who took this picture of Sora in the middle of nowhere. That is a bigger mystery than anything else the series has done up until this point. And then you got Riku over here posting on social media reminiscing about when Ansem took over his body with the damn slant emoji and hashtags. Like, what? The story here feels totally aimless for the most part and would have benefited greatly from a midpoint story check where the overall plot gets pushed forward, much like how you returned to Traverse Town in KH1 or Hollow Bastion in KH2. Here in KH3, once you start the Disney Worlds, you don't stop until you're completely done with the Disney Worlds. And then when you do that, the game completely changes and remembers what it's been trying to be this entire time. You finally get to go to the Keyblade Graveyard, you finally start saving some characters. That classic light versus dark shenanigans happens in waves now, and this stuff I actually really liked. Once I started seeing these plot points finally unfold before my eyes, they were proving why I was into this franchise in the first place. However, it then ends up going by way too quickly. So despite trying to wrap up all of these story details that the series started off in a way that results in a satisfying ending, it just ends up feeling rushed. There are these genuinely really lighthearted and charming moments that pop up now, but you're given hardly any time to enjoy them. They do kinda try to progress the plot during these little cutscenes in between worlds, but they aren't really progressing anything. They're just there to remind you of the plot details that you've probably forgotten from the games that you probably didn't play. Oh yeah, and about the whole Square Enix fan service thing, there are literally no Square Enix characters in this game outside of the Moogles. How did you do that? Didn't Kingdom Hearts get popular from being a Disney and a Square Enix crossover? What happened there? Now, I wouldn't say Kingdom Hearts 3 suffers from missed potential, for the most part, but I would say it suffers from misguided development. 100 Acre Wood is back, cool! Then you beat it in 20 minutes and never have to return. Lame. Remy from Ratatouille hosts a cooking minigame. That is perfect, but each minigame takes less than 5 seconds to complete. Why? The Classic Kingdom is such a cute concept that gives Sora a smartphone. Why not toss a bunch of games on there? The games though, they're not fun. And of course, as we can all expect, the Gummy Ship returns, and the segments here are more expansive than they've ever been before, with a freely explorable space and a ton of optional goodies. A good chunk of those, however, are just massive time wasters devoid of challenge. Why am I moving so slowly around this and just shooting the one thing? Why am I doing this? We are supposed to be under the impression that 2 new Keyblade wielders, Kairi and Axel, are out here training and not just hanging out, and while I won't spoil it, I'll just say this. Kairi, oh boy, she wasted her time. Why does the Frozen world play a nearly shot-for-shot reanimation of Let It Go? Like it's just the whole song, but sometimes Sora is now there. And then they try to do the same thing with Do You Want to Build a Snowman? But Anna is then talking over herself.
Years passed and we barely ever saw each other.
Oh my god, this is pure audio hell. You gotta waste time collecting 300 crabs in the Caribbean. You waste time in San Francisco exploring this giant city that has nothing to do in it. You waste little time in Twilight Town because, oh man, they completely butchered this place in terms of its size and usefulness. Oh, but don't you worry though, everywhere you go is a good place to find some ingredients.
Hope we find some ingredients around here.
This might be a good spot to find some ingredients.
Oh my god, make it stop. And I can already hear it plenty coming from you guys. This is my fault, right? Despite Square Enix spending 13 years building up to some sort of grand finale, this is my fault for setting the expectations far too high. I get it. Surely, a lot of this is subjective. I mean, to be fair, I don't really understand why a lot of the worlds end off with a random heartless fight as opposed to someone like Zurg in Toy Story or something like that. But to me, this just seems like a really flawed RPG. The only thing that was really keeping me going here was that the hack and slash gameplay. It was kind of fun. And yeah, after 13 years, I finally wanted to see what Kingdom Hearts 3 was all about. Can you blame me? If you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, you've probably already played this. You've already been through hell and back, and you're just happy that KH3 is actually a thing that exists and you can hold and you can play, and I get it. It's worth playing just for the last few hours alone, having these genuinely really cool moments of fan service. And I'm not saying the game is bad, it's just incredibly flawed. I'm a fan of this stupid franchise too. I've played every game this series has thrown at me. I feel like I'm allowed to make some criticisms here. This, to me, is not the conclusion to the Xehanort saga that I was expecting. The ending, the ending I was really not a fan of, but if anything, it tells us that the Kingdom Hearts franchise is not going anywhere anytime soon, so I can just hope for something better in the future. The hype in general is probably what killed Kingdom Hearts 3 for a lot of us. It does still have its moments, and if you really like this game, then hey, more power to you. But the only thing I can hope for is when Kingdom Hearts 4 drops in the year 2047, we get something just a little better. I think I've said all I needed to say about Kingdom Hearts 3. Now if you want, go ahead and leave all of your angry comments down below. Quite frankly, the angrier, the better. I will thrive off it. As someone who still knows that the game is pronounced 358 days over 2, you can't hurt me more than I've already hurt myself. I'm looking forward to what you have to say. Now if you don't mind, I gotta take a trip to the grocery store. I hear that's a good place to find some ingredients.